All right, take two. Jeez, they got the first one wrong. It'll probably take folks a couple minutes to find this thing and get it on, but yeah, that's the way it is. So let's see. We've got a bunch of stuff going on today. It is June 23rd, 2023, and lots of stuff going on. I will wait to see if or when. I think we got Joey and Paul coming on today, so that's the big deal. I'm sure I'll get a bunch of texts saying that nobody can see me and it's broken and all the rest of it, but it'll take a minute. We'll sort this thing out. There we go. There's Paul. All right. Let me see. What's up, Paul?
Hey,
How you doing?
dang it. I'm in here.
Right
You
on.
too?
I'm doing well. Yeah, let me get your title up there and in the right place. And then I think
Yeah.
we're good. Cool. So we've had I guess a quiet week, huh? Compared to the last 2 weeks.
Sometimes it's not so bad.
No. Yeah. No, it's a good thing for sure. Every so often to have that. Cool. So I've got a bunch of kind of Helium news, but let's start with the kind of MetSci and console news. Is anything new for you in ChirpStack? Have you been seeing anything like
Oh,
how's
yeah.
business? Yeah.
Yeah. I've just published one thing. I was introduced last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, about the ability to move a device from a region to another region.
Okay.
Basically, ShipStark is really by region. So usually you set up your device profile with one region, and
Yep.
so if you move your device in another region, it's not working.
Okay.
And well, the problem is like when you sell device like this one,
Yep.
this device is international. It can be purchased in USA or in Europe. And so when you received it, yeah, that one too. When you receive it, you select your zone. But the problem is basically the device is pre-configured, so the zone should already been set up before you received it. So it's a problem. Okay. I had this piece of code inside Chipstark, and now when your device connect to one region first, it automatically switch to that region. So the first join works, but the second join is a success, whatever the zone it is. So yeah, it's I think a great improvement for Helium. Yeah. Oh, you're in mute, Nick. You're muted, Nick.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm muted. Yeah. The lawn guy's here and the dog is going crazy, so I'm muted. I was gonna say I need to ask your advice because I can't get this thing to even turn on. These were the ones from Helium in the
Right.
wild when
Yeah.
we did the mapping thing, but I
Yeah.
think that maybe they've been off so long the battery's totally drained. I charged it up for a couple days, but still nothing. So
Oh,
we'll get it.
maybe you
Yeah.
had yeah drop too low, and yeah, you can change the battery or resurge it with an external charger.
Okay. Yeah. I've been charging back up, but I'll ping you offline so you don't have to troubleshoot that thing
Yeah.
here. But I'm excited to figure out what to do with them because I've got 10 of them, and it'd be neat to run a little game with them. So cool. So we got the region thing. I hired a guy to help with LoRaWAN decoders. We just started getting into that like this last week, where I said, "Hey, here's a decoder. Can you just make this thing work?" Like I don't have time to become a LoRaWAN expert. And this guy's been showing me some super cool stuff that you can do on separate websites. So it's neat to see that. And we've got in the Gristle King Discord server, there's a guy, what is it, Hamilton something or other, that's doing a bunch of work in orchards, and he wants help with decoders. So I think there's actually like a little business for writing decoders, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting things. Yeah. For sure.
Um, yeah, so that's super cool. And I think what we'll do right now, I'm actually curious to get your take on this, Paul. Is I was talking with Grey Hat. Is that MetSci might put up like a little bit of the money to write a decoder and have the customer put up the other piece of the money. So let's say it's $40 or $100 or whatever it is. MetSci would put up $50 or half of it, and the customer would put up the other half, and then that decoder would be made available throughout the whole instance. Does that seem like a reasonable thing to you, or does that seem too much of a pain in the ass or not worth it?
Yeah. I think it's interesting to have a decoder. as I mean, if you want people to add device they buy and be able to use it simply, I mean, decoder, I mean, it's not really complex, but you need to be a developer. So there is certain level of complexity. So having a decoder makes sense. I don't think that someone will pay 40 euro, $40 for getting a decoder. But I think that's, I mean, we could have something like, you could have people requesting and all paying $1 or $2. And once you reach the 40, you have the guy who is doing the decoder. That could make sense because you could have plenty of people interested in a decoder for, I don't know, a soil moisture sensor or thing like this, and it can go to the community. That, yeah, could be like a kind of Kickstarter things. So
Yeah.
crowdfunding could be interesting. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And I think what I'll end up doing is just having this guy write decoders for everything that I'm putting on my side, so all the devices I'm adding in, and then we'll see where it goes from there. If there's demand for it, then we can figure it out. If not, we won't. Because there's an interesting dynamic here, is that there's this really strong kind of open source ethos in the system where it's like, yeah, you build it and you share it with everyone. But the flip side of that, as you and I know, is you got to be able to run a business, and you can't run a business on free. So it's like, where do we take the expertise that someone has in writing decoder? As you said, if you're into it, they seem to be reasonably easy to do. But for me, I look at them like, the fuck is this thing saying? So yeah, I think there's value there.
I agree. I mean, I agree. Same that say we could have a decoder bounty. We could also have decoder grants. Or could be
Yeah.
also interesting. We could have yeah, something like you can propose like, I don't know, 5 or 10 decoders for 500, and basically it could be interesting for Helium Foundation as grant,
Yep. Yep. I like it.
and then push it to open source so we could load it into the ChipStark instances. Yeah, it would be could be interesting.
Yeah. Super cool. The other thing that came across our desks this week that was neat was we had a Medio Scientific client reach out and say, "Hey, can you guarantee you'll be in business for a year?" And the title of the email was SLA. So I missed it, and I thought they wanted an actual SLA, which is a guarantee of uptime, which is not what we have on the Medio Scientific console right now. But you correctly, funnily enough, you got the English better than I did. And you're like, they just want to know if you're going to be around. And I thought just the question was a pretty good indication that I think we're doing something right.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. That's a good question, and because the question is not easy. I mean, it's will you will be up and running in a year? I would say, yeah, basically, you can. There's no big cost for you, so it's good. But it's a question of business. It's a question of helium. It's a question of many things, in fact. So yeah, that's interesting question, and it's right to ask this question. So, well, I mean, we can all answer. Yeah, we really think that we will be there because we spend a lot of time for running this, debugging this, explaining this, and so on. We don't get a lot of money, but we put a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So we don't do that for months. Basically, we already do that for years. So yeah, we want this. But
Yeah.
what's going to be the reality? Yeah, a good question.
Yeah. 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 Well, Joey's here. He can guarantee whether or not the Helium network will be around in a year, right?
In a year? Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. I will never die. Joey, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, happy Friday. Yeah, I was kind of racking my brain for fun updates.
Cool.
But yeah, good to
I
be
got
on.
a couple to talk about. One that I won't throw you under the bus on. That is, I'll just give a teaser. Is that 15 minutes after this show ends, the Deep in State is launching the Abai interview, and in that interview we discuss whether or not Helium could return to HNT only. So no mobile, no IoT, just HNT. Which is it's kind of a big deal. It's something. Well, I guess watch the interview if you want to see that. But let's see. So HIP 79, 82, 84 passed last week. I think they passed like as we were on the show or right after it. So I don't think that's breaking news.
I
But
think what is news, we see data transfer on Helium Mobile, which is pretty cool.
that's right.
On the order of several hundred gigabytes. So
Yeah, they're
it's
knocking me off the top
taking
10
up.
list on data transfers. Bullshit.
I know. You got to get somebody taking advantage of your Stripe connection again.
Yeah, I'm at like 20 cents a day, and I'm like, dude, how am I supposed to keep up? I got to run a couple more of these devices.
I'll get some more sensors on there. I think the one that I have is it struggles because it's in this building actually, and it doesn't get GPS. So
Ah, got it.
yeah.
Got it. Let's see. So we got a couple comments. Good to see the usual suspects here. Siegfried, Jerome, Frankie Wiz. I haven't seen before. We got a question for staking. If you have a land rush 4-year constant staked and delegated to Helium IoT, at what specific point in the 4-year land rush lockup do you undelegate to get your HNT back? If it's staked, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I think I can handle this one. I kind of wrote the docs on it, which I recommend checking out because there's a helpful graph in there that kind of like visualizes what a constant and a decaying stake look like. Effectively, for the 4-year constant, you can unstake it whenever you want, and then it'll take 4 years for that decay to happen. So you can have a maximum land rush of 4 years. And then after that 4 years, if you said, okay, now I want to unstake, you could do it then. If you want to unstake today, that land rush would still apply. It's just going to start decaying at that linear rate. Really hard to describe with like hand waving. So if you hop into the docs for VEHNT, it's there's a nice little chart in there that hopefully help. But yeah, you can come chase me down if that's not clear.
Okay. Cool. Hopefully it's useful. Siegfried's asking if the HNT return HNT is a clickbait question. I would say it is 50% clickbait and 50% real. At least as far as like it's a possibility, right? It's not like out of the question.
50% max. You gotta lump that in there too.
Yeah. There's another 50% you just squash in there for Max's stuff. That guy is he's so funny to work with.
Max is getting soft. I picked up some alpha on Twitter that he did not catch on to. Pete from Nova Labs posted a funny meme about setting up a mobile hotspot. And if you remember, Pete's based in the UK.
Ah, ho. Well done.
Nobody else saw it.
No, that's breaking news outside of Twitter, which is totally fucking public, right here on State of the Network. You heard it here second.
I don't know. I don't know anything more than what I saw on Twitter. So yeah who knows? But, one of our partners is leaking news today, so I don't know. You can go hunt around for that too.
Huh? Fucking leakers.
Somebody beat our press embargo.
Your press team to the punch. Okay. Well, hopefully it's not us.
Not you this time.
No, not this time. No, we try not to leak. Let's see. So I don't know if you guys caught it. Travis runs the Helium Hacks Happy Hour. The link should be in the description. Oh, no, it isn't because I screwed this show up. But I'll put it in the description after we finish recording. There is a Home Assistant integration with all kinds of stuff about your hotspot. So if you're a little bit of a nerd and you're running Home Assistant at home, kind of cool stuff going on there.
It's also, I watched that whole video. It's also a really cool way if you are interested in Home Assistant but don't want to jump into the like device side of it straight away. He did a bunch of stuff where he just pulled Helium data in and created these dashboards to like give him insights on his hotspot. And there's stuff that I hadn't seen other dashboards do, frankly.
Huh.
It's pretty cool.
Paul, are you gonna? What's going on with what's the app that I got, Paul? The was it Watchium?
Yeah.
That you did?
Yeah. That's Watchum. It's it's updated with the new data. So what we still not have in is it works for all the people who had already an account. So it's working, but if you are new users, you cannot search your hotspot in account. At the beginning, we didn't have the data. Now we have much of the data, but we work a bit on the back end. And so as I'm working a lot on Chipstack, I'm a bit late for updating this. So it works for all users, but not for new users.
But we got Chirpstack stuff to do first. That's important.
Yeah, that's important.
That's super cool. Let's see what else. Oh, I was going to say, Paul, if you want any help with the LoRaWAN Chirpstack side, because I know on one of the shows you said that Chirpstack was relatively new to you. I'm happy to make the intro to the guy that I've hired to help me with Decoders. He seems super sharp, and he showed me a bunch of stuff that you can do. So might be worth talking to him. I know you're kind of a lone wolf, but if you want a lot of hands, let me know.
Yeah, we'll get you. Yeah.
Let's see. What have I got next? The halving is coming in 30 or 40 days. I forget the date, but it's coming. And so I'm sure we'll see a bunch of questions about that. I always think of halvings as like non-events, but they seem to garner like a ton of news for some reason. I
What
don't
was
understand it.
interesting as I had a discussion this week about the halving,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy asked me why. I mean, does it interest to have a halving on HNT when now we switch to IoT? So that was an interesting question. And basically, as the HNT is backing the value of the IoT, and halving is supposed to increase the value of token. Basically, it also has an impact on the IoT side. I don't know, Joey, if you have an
Hmm.
advice or an opinion on this.
Well, one of the important things for halvings for our network is that it helps create that maximum number of tokens, because otherwise it would just sort of be an unbridled minting. There's a lot of more things that I guess go into it, but yeah, I mean it's still important. It's important across the IoT and mobile networks as well as the main HMT network. And we could probably have a whole show just about that.
Just about halving. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
which maybe if it's coming up, yeah. I mean, like having's. I agree with you, Nick. Like they're kind of they're coded into the product, the protocol. Like I think the reason they get so much hype is because it's like for Bitcoin, it's the only thing they have to talk about. So
Right.
um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just one of those things.
Let's see. Joey, hey, what's up? Daniel's on there. Dude, come on the show, man. Where are you? Like in Malta or Lisbon or something? Ooh, look at that. Hotspot. I got your shirt on. I should put a shirt on that has got some helium related thing on it. Let's see. I know I talked about it with the buy and it's in this interview that's coming up, but the net emissions, no, this is a different one. The net emissions bug was found and squashed last week. That was different than the DC burn. Did we talk about the DC burn hack last week, Joey? I think we did.
Um, I think so. Last week I was teasing you with our po- uh, uh, our rundown of the events. So we
That's
wrote
right.
up
I
a
got to
blog
read it
post
this week.
about it.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. And so, yeah, that's published now. You can jump on to docs.helium.com, and then there's like a dev blog tab at the top.
Okay.
It'll be the first thing there.
Yep.
Yeah, so the long story short is it was an accounting bug on Foundation console. And it was configured to buy 5 packets or five reports of a single packet, even if the end user requested one. So that sort of created this arbitrage opportunity where folks could just set up a bunch of devices that
Yep.
were configured for one packet, and they would run that through their own gateways.
Okay.
And yeah, it's there were sort of a bunch of learnings on our end. I wrote like a whole sort of internal retro. So we have a bunch of action items to like block and catch and prevent stuff like this from happening, because we want to see real network usage on the network. Like we don't want our charts to be inflated. And so while it was important to sort of close this stuff out and have like the right comms around it, it's sad to see the chart go down. Like it's sad that it ran for that long,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely trying to do right by the overall network by making sure that real utility is being provided here, and it's not
Yep.
just Oh,
Cool.
the one point of clarification, or like one important note,
Yep.
is the network worked great through this whole thing.
Right.
So HPR handled a boatload of traffic.
Helium packet router. Yep.
Yep, Helium packet router. So that's the sort of core infrastructure part in there, and then the packet transfer was properly accounted for on chain. And so this accounting bug was a sort of more front end thing. And it ended up being Nova Labs that footed the bill on paying for all of those data credits to sort of keep that console running.
Yep.
So yeah,
Good old
network
Nova
works
Labs.
great. Yeah.
It sounds like there's some other stuff going on with the Freedom Fi and the data credits, but yeah, I think long term you can count on all these people to do the right thing for the network.
Totally.
It brings up. I think we're gonna have this question every single time, Joey. We should make it like a sponsored Helium Foundation question. But is there a time frame yet for data services needing to be run on Chirp Stack? And which is like the question is always, ooh, how can I make this so it doesn't cut off your head? Question is always like, how long is Helium Console going to run? Right, and there's never like an answer, but just so we hit it.
Yeah. As of today, there's no plan to shut down Foundation console. And so there's a ton of devices that are running on there. We don't want to interrupt any of those devices. A migration outside of the NetID and dev adders that it's running on would mean those devices have to rejoin. It's just kind of a little bit of an ugly process. As I'm sure Paul's running through all these things in his head, he knows. And so, yeah, we will do what we can to keep that system running. Obviously, we want to see, Paul's services, your services, anyone else in the ecosystem start to really take over that narrative, because you are the folks who are going to drive this forward and sort of expand usage. So everything we're doing on the foundation side is around supporting new operators. It's not about trying to cram more people into Foundation Console.
I'm agitating strongly for Console to be shut down by the end of the month, which will not happen.
I'm keeping you far away from the plug because I know you'll snag it as soon as.
Not only will I pull that out of the wall, I will chop that with an axe.
Right. Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff we could probably start doing, like messaging within Console to say, hey, go check out these other partners. It's, take it already, given the sort of shakeups over the past week of us trying to figure out this gaming thing. We are really not trying to do constant maintenance on Foundation Console. And so don't jump in there expecting for high SLAs or me jumping on your requests immediately. That's not what Foundation Console is for. It's educational trial use. If you're really needing to just jump in and try a sensor, you should use one of the other services in the ecosystem, but Foundation Console is currently there for that too.
Yeah, that's probably as good a place as any, a nice setup to plug both the MetSci console. So if you want to try a couple devices, go ahead and throw them on console.meteoscientific.com. If you're running a business and you want an SLA and you're doing a bunch of devices and you kind of know what you're doing, you just want someone to do this for you, you should check out Paul's service, which, Paul, you can find that as disk91.com. Is that the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way is helium-iot.eu. That's the service page, so you get information. I'm currently updating the page about the different service offerings that I'm doing with this. So it's helium-iot.eu.
Got it. Cool. I see there's going to be a small brush fire over in the chat about Crank versus Helium. I'm not going to fucking touch that one. I'll let you guys sort that out in the chat. Let's see. HIP 69 is ending in a month, which is that was the decreasing the location moving fees from, was it $10 to $5 or something? I haven't looked at that data. I haven't moved my hotspot, so it hasn't affected me at all. Have either of you guys checked that out or paid attention to that, or even moved a hotspot?
I asserted a hotspot. I'm actually not even sure if I paid $5 or $10 for it.
Okay.
I've also, I guess on the note, I've seen some proposals floating around of just continuing it permanently. That would probably be the least work for all of the manufacturers and stuff that had to integrate this into their apps. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
It to me, it doesn't seem like a big deal. The difference between $5 and $10 is $5. Managed to get some math out of high school. Didn't seem like a big deal. I think it's more, I'm way more interested in figuring out this thing about makers not maintaining DC in their accounts to onboard new hotspots. And I know Bobcat had a problem last week. I've got one person on the Gristle crew who I sent Bobcat up to, and they had it was, it's wild because it was their introduction into Helium. And I'm like, hey, I've got this extra Bobcat that someone sent me. I'll just send it to you. And they had a hell of a time getting it on board. I was like, oh shit, if I'd known I was throwing you into this thing, I probably wouldn't have sent it up. I would have sent it up with more instructions. Have you guys heard anything on new Bobcat assertions or that topic in general?
I'm just checking. Yeah, Bobcat's re-upped their funds. Yeah, so they've got 150 full onboards right now.
Cool.
As of 3 hours ago.
All right. Well.
Oh, nice, Dune. So where I'm looking, I'm going to drop a link and.
Sure, drop it in the chat.
You can relay it back. Yeah.
Yep. We can put it in the chat and I can put it up here. Paul, have you paid any attention to any of that stuff or not really? As far as the makers.
Go ahead. Bobcat, you mean?
No, just the makers running out of onboarding DC.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I did not take a real look at this. I've been following the Bobcat story, but not the others one. Yeah.
Got it.
I
Okay.
don't look at this. I'm really more waiting about the ability to register the new data only on a CLI. That's more my
Okay.
focus. Okay.
That sounds
To onboard data only.
a little geekier. I like it. Let's see what's in the chat. Yeah, geez, let me catch up here. Okay, there's a PR. Liam says there's a PR to make the onboarding insertion fee permanent for $5. Cool. I think it's going to have to be a HIP if I remember right. But whatever, it should be pretty easy to write. There's still talk about the crank thing. Let you guys hammer that back and forth. HNT stuff. I think Travis, Bobcat support responded saying they didn't do onboarding. I think they had like some weird response to that, but it sounds like it's fixed now. I'll check with our guy and see if he's able to get his onboarded. Frankie's question about any plans to extend the land rush bonus for locking up HNT. Should you speak on behalf of the foundation? I'm going to say probably not, but
I think that ship sailed. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that's coming back.
I mean, right the hip, I guess, is always
Yeah,
it's open. So
I think that's the really interesting thing, and we talk about that a little bit with the buy in the next interview, is that like anything on Helium is possible if you write a HIP and you work to get the HIP passed. You work to get the community behind it and you get the vote, and you figure that out. It doesn't mean that it's easy. Like I think this thing with going back to HNT and dropping mobile and IoT, that will not by a long shot be any kind of easy, road or battle for anyone. And jury's still out on whether or not that's even a good idea. But just the fact that you can change the rules totally as a community is, I think that's pretty cool.
I'll cast a bit of a personal opinion on this, and it's a sort of, I guess, a devil's advocate to what you're pitching there, which is like we are a network that provides commercial services effectively at the end of the day, right? And so the ability to change anything on a moment's notice is a little bit at odds with the stability that a corporation would be looking for when they, set up a console. So I think as a community, we have to be, a little bit cautious and have some of those things in mind. And I'm going to call out the HIP right now that's proposing to change data credit transfer costs for the IoT network. I think that's a bad idea. Because it sets a rough precedent for operators like Paul, like yourself, or like Actility or Senate or any of these other larger players to say, well, we put all of the work in to set up this infrastructure and to do these integrations, and you're going to change the price on us within the matter of a month without any, real heads up. So I just sort of flag those. Like, I think it creates a really good picture for where some of those things need to be considered from. And so, changing the land rush period or something like that, pretty inconsequential to the overall, users of the network. But you have to sort of keep those optics in mind.
Let's see. Trillion Capital, what's the best equipment to get for the 5G? I don't know. I haven't paid a ton of attention to that. And then Neil's thing, increased costs are not a good idea now. Paul, let's dive into that, because we've talked a little bit about that before, but I think that's worth talking about again. I've seen on Twitter people saying like, oh, the Helium network is too cheap. But as you and I have gone through it, and especially as I've gone through over on the integration side with Nick Huff from Uplink Engine, like the data credit costs are just one part of it, and it's pretty important as far as I can see to keep those costs where they are, because there's other costs down the line if you actually want to use it.
Yeah, I fully agree that the data transfer cost is just part of it, and a small part of it at the final place. But also, it cannot be a network at the price we see other network, like, I don't know, maybe CNET or others, because we cannot compare. I mean, currently people are not really trusting the SLA, so the quality of the network over time. So, I mean, you take a risk when you go to Helium, even if we trust the future of Helium.
Yep.
But yeah, we cannot have a certification or anything like this because it's running on different people, and okay, they can decide to stop it, to switch another network, or yeah, anything. So basically, the reason to go to Helium is also the business model it proposes. And this business model is two things: is pay per message transmitted and not per device, which is really important and allowing really a lot of different business model thanks to this. And the other one is a lower price uh, that correspond to the risk you are taking. So yeah, in my point of view, the price is good currently,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows us to create service on top of this. And so there is a place for so you have the DC cost, you have the network server cost. So basically, what you and me are adding to this cost.
Yep.
And if you are a service provider, because I mean, the idea is to have some service providers that will deploy fleet of device for measuring, metering, or parking places or anything like this. So they also need to have a place for their margin on top of this. So it's quite interesting, and with all that we of these different steps, we can compete with traditional network operator. And I assume that with the growing fleets, basically your cost or my cost will decrease because we have fixed cost, in fact, to run the services. Most of it is fixed cost. And so if the fleet are growing, we will be eventually able to reduce a bit our multiplier
Yep.
thanks to this. And service provider will also deploy maybe some gateways they will maintain and ensure long time for providing the service. So we will increase the network SLA in general and so on. So yeah, we are going to progress. And yeah, I think that we can really build something which is cost efficient. And in IoT, what I can add is my experience in IoT in the past 5-6 years trying to sell services is that the cost of the network is really a blocking point. When you pay something like $15 for a year for connectivity, in fact, it's really difficult to transfer this cost to the customer at the end because it becomes something like 29 or something like this bucks
Yep.
per year,
Yep.
which is expensive. So if you can, with the lower cost, include this in the starting price and the initial price of the product, like putting 5 or 10 years of service inside your products thanks to a low cost of network, it really facilitates your business model and your scale. So yeah,
Yeah.
really important.
Super important. Interesting to see how it's all going down and the cost side of it. God, what was the thing? I'm Go ahead, Joey. What do you got?
Well, I mean, to round out the conversation on cost and hips and all of that stuff, I would still love to see a hip that changes the OUI and dev adder pricing, or just
To go
rethinks that
up.
model.
To go up,
Oh,
Joey.
well, yeah,
Let's keep
you
those
want to
fuckers off the network.
go get. I'm sure Max will write that hip for you. He likes that kind of.
Yeah.
He
Yeah. The Australians will be
stirring the
coming
pot.
after me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go down and hang out with those guys and drink some beer with them. But they've been trying to get this OUI for a while, and I think it's just,
I'm,
go ahead.
we're on track with Bones.
Cool.
I've been chatting with him the past 24 hours.
Cool. Great. Great. And he's
Yeah.
been working. He and Nick over at Uplink Engine have been working. I think that's going to see the light of day, and that'll be a super cool way to visualize that data. In fact, I've been wanting to put out videos over on Medio Scientific about how to pull the data from the console over to the app, but we don't have pricing yet that's firm on the app side. So I've just been like fucking sitting on my hands because I want people to know when they come in what it's going to be. Neil is telling me $20 in OUI and dev blocks. Get the fuck out of here, Neil. Come on, dude. I paid fucking 800 for mine. But I think
I
Go
bit
ahead.
disagreeing with this because if it goes to $20, I may have hundred of people asking for support for shipstock and
Yeah.
don't want to pay as they don't pay for the OUI. So I'm a bit afraid of that level of price.
Yeah, I think so. There's two things here. I think there's this kind of funny thing here: the $20 in OUI and a dev block, and then Neil's thing about being free for OGs. I think there's an interesting and maybe a happy medium there. Is that if you have an OUI now, or you got one before Solana or whatever, basically if you're in Paul and my position, is that you took a risk early, you paid a bunch of money, and it's free forever. versus a yearly cost for OUIs that might be less than 800, but it's an ongoing cost. And I think if I'm kind of guessing as to how we're going to shoot that gap, that's probably where it's going to end up. That seems to me to be fair.
There's a million ways we could cut it. Like, I'll remind us that the net ID that all of these OUIs are operating on is paid for by the Helium Foundation on a yearly basis.
Yep.
So if somebody wanted to make the case that says Helium Foundation can just give dev adders to any of these OGs that have a fully paid OUI, it's like, Nick, if you need 816 more dev addresses on your console, like, they're there for you, right?
Right.
It's totally open in terms of how we delegate or build these things, whether it's on-chain or off-chain or both. So there's a lot of cool ways that could go to bring people on and make it easy to access and maybe try out for a couple of months, or fully set up commercial services.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a good point. There's many ways to cut that cake, not just the way that I could think of off the top of my little head. Let's see, Tuxedo Boy. Hi, friends. I'd like to consult with you regarding deportation. I'm having problems, and the Helium supervisor staff doesn't want to help me. Huh. I would say that is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the network works. I don't understand the deportation thing.
Deny list, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. Tuxedo Boy, give us a little bit more, perspective there. Rory Boxer, when will new Explorer options get deployed? I don't know. Is that a hotspotty question?
It is a foundation question.
A foundation question, okay.
So, yeah, we want to bring more analytics options into Explorer. So right now it's sort of a central hub for folks to come in, find the thing, and then go to one of these other explorers. And we've actually got 2 in the queue. And I don't know if Rory is actually associated with one of those teams. Okay. It's hard to remember. But yeah, hopefully I want to roll them out together. So I'm just trying to coordinate a couple little details there. And then we're going to sort of make a little bit more of an update to Explore.
Cool.
Sorry, too many products.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Let's see, we got this. Go ahead.
Paul, you want to get in on this?
That we're also, sorry, there's latency.
I'll put it there. I'll leave it. You talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. So one question, Joey, is we need to get some information like the hotspot creation, insertion, and hotspot location update and things like this that are on the NFT part of Solana. And we had the discussion about having an extract of this that could be distributed by the foundation, as we have the epoch reward and so on. Do you have an update on this? I mean, as it, because the Explorer are basically blocked with this information to get, and it makes it complex. So this extract could really help to access this.
Yeah, specifically, we were talking about like a static API where you could go and very cheaply, actually cheaply from a serving standpoint, is provide all of the sort of basic hotspot analytics, like antenna, location, all that fun stuff, right? The work that we're doing on Foundation right now, and this is very much in the court of a couple of other folks on the team, so I apologize, I only have surface level understanding, but we are taking all of the Oracle data and we're establishing, I guess, what's called a data lake. And so it's a queryable format for basically everything. So you can do sort of like big data analysis on the network. And then my hope is that we can start to build some processes around that infrastructure so that you're not working directly off of these protobuf files. You have something a little bit more queryable. There's some fun opportunities to do things in the Web3 space here that open up opportunity for like free egress, so you're not paying Amazon every time you run a query, things like that. We hopefully will have some fun stuff to sort of update the community on there, but right now it's just head down working. And Paul, like I haven't thrown our spec like that we sort of bounce those ideas off of. I've still got those in our chat right now. They're living there until we get the bandwidth to like throw that on the table.
Yeah, okay.
But I really want to do it.
Great.
Dig it. Let's see. Paul, do you want to hit this one? I think this is the one that Joey wanted to set you up with.
8. 8. Yeah, sorry. The minimum block is 8 address.
Yep, that's the minimum number now. But let's talk a little bit about what one block of dev addresses gives you how many devices. It's some enormous number, like 40,000, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it depends.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit hard, but yeah, I think you can have something like 1,000 per dev address, or yeah, or much more. Uh,
it's yeah. I did a sort of deep dive on this, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Paul. But the Chirp Stack does a sort of multiplexing thing under the hood for you. So for a device that comes in on a particular dev address, it is going to do what's called a MIC check to sort of check for the
Mic check. Yeah.
mic check. Yeah. So many acronyms.
Yep.
But basically, it's going to extract the network session key and some other stuff that's unique to that device session. And then it can map that payload to that device on ChirpStack. And so really what my understanding is just how well your LNS can keep up with those MIC checks. So if you have devices that are sending data super frequently, you're going to need more dev adders because you're going to be sort of more constrained on that pipeline. But if you have something that's talking once a day, sky's the limit, basically.
Okay.
yeah, and we have two levels now. We also have the Helium Router service that is also check the different network session. So basically, yeah, if we have a plenty of dev address, I mean, plenty of device per dev address, basically you have a sequence of two check, one at Helium Router and one at Chipstark. Yeah, so I don't exactly know what is the limit, but it's also related to the latency you have between the device, the Helium network server, the chip start. Because at the end, what you need to do, I mean, you could have a million of device between with one dev address, but the problem is that if you have a downlink, you have 1 second to respond to that downlink. So basically, you need to do all that stuff under a second. If you don't have a downlink, basically you can take 5 seconds to proceed this. It's not a problem. But if you have a downlink, you have to do it under 1 or 2 seconds. And so this is where we can have a limit, which is related to the performance of servers, the current workload of the overall infrastructure, and so on, and the latency you have on the network. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's that two-way that gets you, because otherwise you're just, whenever the data comes in, you're good to go.
Cool. Super cool. Let's see. Lily Merja, the guys first to witness it. I haven't paid a ton of attention to this, and I've gotten pinged on it a bunch because people, if I'm understanding it right, this is the idea that if you are the first to witness a packet, you get paid more instead of a random selection of 14. Go ahead, Jay. Oh, you got to take off?
No, I don't know how to turn my video off, but I gotta hop off for just a second. I'll be back.
Okay. I'll just help you out there. Yeah. Yeah, I think...
I'm not aware of this app. You mean it's the one who is getting the packet first would get more...
Yeah, instead of it being randomly selected from
Oh,
14
yeah.
hotspots to witness it, it's just the first to witness it gets it. I thought we turned that off for anti-gaming stuff.
Or express my opinion on this. I'm totally against this for one reason. I take it as the example of what I see in my city, but it applies to many cities. When you look at the best hotspots, the ones that are the best coverage, they are usually not in the middle of the city, close to a fiber link to internet. They are more on top of a tower, on top of a mountain, and the link is usually 4G or these things. And they are not the first to respond and to communicate because their backend link
Yep.
is not the best one,
Yep.
but they are really good in terms of performance. It's not because you're 4G, so basically it's a couple of milliseconds compared to the fiber connectivity. Okay,
Yeah.
but the quality of the network is really big. So basically, what you give an advantage to the one who have a perfect network, but not a perfect coverage
Yep.
or perfect radio. So you
Yep.
give an advantage only for the backhaul infrastructure, which makes no sense in an IoT network, where you don't need to have a big backhaul because you just have a couple of bytes to transmit every hour. So yeah, in my point of view, it makes no sense.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't care either way because I think the earnings that drove the network are gone. And so where this used to be like a big fucking deal, it's now like, okay, fine. I've got the best hotspot in San Diego because I'm up on a mountain. What am I going to earn? For me, it's like, it's not worth enough that it will change my behavior either way. Like I'm still going to maintain that hotspot. I'll still keep it up, whether or not it's earning, zero point 0.1 or 1 HNT a month. But I totally see your point. I just think that the real earnings are not that big. Let's see. Sig
Yeah,
thinks,
but basically, what is interesting in this is like I understand people that I was expecting to be rich and doing just nothing, be
yeah,
staying in sofa and being rich. I mean, if you find something in a real life that can do that, tell me. But I don't think it exists. So
yeah, yeah. There was a
basically, I
time when
mean,
it worked for about, I don't know, a year.
yeah,
Like
for
you
a
could,
couple of months it was running, but when you are in situation, you know that it's not the normal
yeah,
situation. So
yeah,
just yeah, I get the best of it, and and yeah, you know that it will be just for a month or two. What is important to see is that I mean, a hotspot is basically something like a cent of energy. I mean, it's 2 watts per hour. So yeah, you pay, I don't know, half a dollar of energy per month. And so basically, you do nothing. And even if you get $10, I mean, the margin is quite good. Okay, you don't have a better investment if you go to see your bank and ask for something. You put one and get 10. They won't have
yeah,
anything. So basically, it's good. The only thing is when it's money, you say, okay, if I get 10 for one, I will invest for 100 and get 1,000. Here you have one miner, so you won't get more than currently maybe 10 or 30 or thing like this.
yeah,
But yeah, just get that. I mean, be happy with this as it's just free money. So that's quite interesting. And maybe later the value of the token will grow. We have a lot of opportunities for this, and if it's the case, it's really good. I mean, with the traffic growing, the revenue will grow. So that's quite interesting. So
yeah. Are you seeing? Oh, Joey's back. Let me see if I can bring him back in. Paul, are you seeing that a lot of people in the IoT world are still unaware of helium?
Found
yeah,
this
I think
guy.
there is a lot. Uh,
Hey, what's
hey,
that guy doing there?
where are you?
He's
Yeah,
here to
yeah.
give the plug for your thing in 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
I think that a lot of people are not aware of Helium and the IoT world, and for sure, more it's a lot of people in IoT space still not understand what is Helium. They are blocked and that's a crypto stuff, and yeah, okay, that's a point zero. I don't know.
Yep.
Okay, they don't understand that you can use the network as any other LoRaWAN network with just fiat, and you don't have to be on the blockchain stuff, and so you can just use it. So yeah, we have we had a lot of negative communication, as it's always. I mean, if you want clickbait stuff, just say bullshit and negative things, and you're gonna have a lot of you.
Yep.
So basically, I mean, you have all the haters that are back and say, okay, all the hotspots are down, nothing is happening, it's not growing, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
But the reality is it's quite stable with half a million of active hotspots. We have more and more devices. We are more something I think 200,000 or more. Joey, maybe you have more. I think about the business application. I don't think about all the device
Yeah.
individual people have, but basically I think in professional stuff we are more than 200,000 and it's growing. So so basically that's something interesting behind of all of what we do. And I'm still confident that we have a lot of people to convince. I mean, to convince, not convince, but to I don't know,
Even
reinsure.
introduced to. I mean, there's a lot of people that are still like, what is that thing? And you're just like, oh, you haven't heard of it, huh? It's a giant elephant
Uh,
walking around.
One is important. I mean, one of the point is, I mean, the foundation have a big role on this and really do a lot of stuff on this. But I mean, all the professional network, I mean, enterprise network,
Yep.
basically, they have tons of sales guys that go to the enterprise, go to the trade show and so on, and have booth and talk about what they do, demonstrate that they are a safe structure. I don't know, and we are a crowdsourced network. So basically, our system is totally different. The sellers is all of us, in fact. But and basically we are part of companies, so we
Yeah,
can create the trust inside the company we are. For example, we can organize events. So I can, yeah, 1 minute of
that's right.
advertising. I'm organizing an event, a Helium event in Clermont-Ferrand in France in July 5th. So yeah, if someone is around, you can join the event. We're gonna have
Go to
some
Clermont-Ferrand.
people interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
July
go to
5th.
Clermont-Ferrand. Yeah, we're gonna have some people coming from really far for joining the
Okay.
event, so that's
The
really
day
cool.
after America's birthday, which France helped us get our independence. So
Uh,
I have to come over and give you guys some
yeah,
props.
yeah,
I mean, it is interesting. We're seeing stuff like this guy saying that there's still a lot of people in the IoT world that don't know about this thing. So it's kind of the work is cut out for us to do. So, okay, Dennis S would like to hear your story sometime. Yeah, Dennis S, if you're in the IoT world and you want to come on State of the Network, reach out to me however you want to, nick@gristleking.com, and we'll have you come in.
Yeah. Turn the tables a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what's going on with these guests or all these audience members. Oh, you're Elmo. Oh, what's up, Dennis? Shit. I know you. Boring. No, totally. Come on, Dennis. I haven't heard from you in a while. You must have been heads down working super hard. So, Joey, what else is going on in your world? I know you got the weekend coming. Last weekend, shout out to you. You worked all weekend,
Mm.
which is
Yep.
unusual I think it's unusual for Helium Foundation. Like, you guys are pretty good about saying don't work on the weekends, even though a lot of the employees still seem to ignore that and work on the weekends. But you pulled an
We
exceptionally long shift.
Yeah, we try to keep a little bit of balance around that. But yeah, just sort of through some of the data credit stuff, wanted to make sure that that was fully wrapped up, right? And so it was important to keep eyes on that. And then some of the next steps in cleaning that up are still a bit in progress. Anyway, yeah, it's just a bunch of loose ends from the week, so
Yeah.
clearing things up there. But yeah, as far as the coming weekend, um, my little pet project, and maybe I'll get a buy to help me out with this, but I want to get all of our old L1 data on some format that people can download. It's a big, huge 2 terabyte file.
Yeah.
And I'm
Easy.
kind of curious to get that out there somehow. I bought myself a TiVo hard drive. I might strap to a Pi or something and see if I can set up like a torrent or like IPFS thing, just as like a really rudimentary way to like get that out there uh, that is free to access and you don't have to pay. I think the egress, I calculated this, the egress cost from Amazon is like $50 for a 2 terabyte file out of
Okay.
S3. So
All right, we got Max coming after me for this buy episode of Deep in State, so make sure you go check out Deep in State. We should probably do all the plug stuff now. If you're watching and you haven't hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, please do that. That helps the show. The usual stuff there. I try and be a lot more professional around Deep in State, but here it's like, if you want the news, great, fucking come on and get the news. Jesus Christ. Let's see. Siegfried wants to know. I think this is actually an interesting question. Are we going to see Brandy or someone else at Helium put together a packet like this so that if folks are going to these fairs, trade fairs or whatever, or like, for Paul's thing in Clermont-Ferrand, which I'm sure I'm not saying right, like, is there something that Helium has that's like, hey, this is the Helium standardized sheet, clearly in French?
well, we'd probably have to lean on Paul for the translation. But we've definitely talked about this idea of ambassadors,
Yeah.
and because we've got a bunch of people in the community that are incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly well spoken, and it would be awesome just to say like, all right, here you go, here's a portal, all of the shirts you need, all the stickers you need, whenever you need it. Like if you're going to be in an event, make sure you're like fully stocked. So some of this stuff is still in the works. That it's easy to say these things, it's harder to implement. Make sure
Yeah.
people don't order 10,000 shirts or something. But um, yeah, it's definitely something we want to do more of. We saw a sort of pass at this with the grant program issued out these sort of small grants for folks to run community events. And I don't know if Paul, if you were one of those, or if you're just doing this on your own. Both
yeah.
awesome. Um,
I got a grant. Yeah.
Good. So yeah, we are sort of taking passes at getting more people enabled to like have that conversation out in the public and sort of tell the good word.
Yeah.
Siegfried, I hit me up. I'll set you up. We will get you out there talking.
What would be interesting is also to be able, Foundation could do that, and maybe the community could help. But being an event like I don't know, IoT Solutions or MWC, or these big events where you have all the other networks. I mean, all the standard old school network are there. So basically, showing that Helium can also join this kind of event and discussing with professional corporates and so on would also be something interesting. But we cannot organize such thing at world level. But on my side, I would be happy to participate if the foundation would like to go to such events. Yeah, I think it's if you want to be seen as really something addressing B2B and professional and big corporates that are showing that it's not only crypto things and you don't have to be afraid of this. Could be interesting too.
Yeah. Let's have to start putting on suits and ties, and I'll start. No more this.
You don't
Fleece
have
showing
that.
up.
You don't need that. You don't need that.
Might have to get a haircut.
The helium tuxedo.
Yeah.
We've got socks, we got shirts, we got hats. We're working our way there.
Okay, maybe that's all I'll wear for the next show. Let's see, Siegfried and is it Jerome? I wanted just to make sure that I called you guys out. Thanks a ton. Super good to see your comments in the chat and that you guys are going back and forth. Awesome to see people participating and discussing ideas. And I especially appreciate that you guys are being polite about it. I think we see often on the internet that people just get in these silly things, and I appreciate you guys are being super professional about that. So awesome. You can totally continue that convo over on the Helium Discord, or you're welcome on the Gristle King Discord to continue that, because I think it's a good conversation that they're having. Anything else coming up this week, Joey or Paul, that we need to be watching, looking at? I know I've got some big news coming out, but that's over on Deep in State. So
sorry, Abai's making faces at me.
Is he? Fucking Abai.
Oh, because we got Keenan in the chat. He's our swag master. So
is he?
Yeah.
Oh, underwear is next. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Keenan, if you send me helium underwear, I will wear that for a show, and that is all I will wear.
So don't do that, Keenan.
So totally do that, and I'll go back and I'll just like rummage through my desk back there. On the show.
Build.
Yeah, totally. Live sensor build from the back.
I mean, there should be some good news landing next week. I think as much as I will say on that topic, because I don't know what else I'm allowed to say.
Okay.
So,
yeah, big stuff.
Keep an eye out. Yeah, follow the Discord, follow the Twitters, all that stuff. It'll be a fun topic for next week too.
Cool, super cool.
Yeah, I won't be with you next week as I'm talking into a conference, so I won't be back at home. But my objective of next week is to deploy the first fleet of 1,000 device plus in chipstock. So we are going to start scaling on chipstock, basically moving my fleets on it to perform this.
It's the thing I love to hear the most. That's the best news.
Dang, yeah. I wonder, Paul, I'd like to see this actually, I'd like to see kind of if we figure out stats across the MetSci console, because I haven't counted. I think we have 40 or 50 accounts on there, and some of them just signed up and never used it. But it'd be cool.
60 plus. You're 60 plus account. Yeah.
Dang, okay.
60 tenants and 60 plus devices. Basically, you have currently an average of one device per people.
Yeah.
But some have multiple devices.
Yeah.
But it's growing.
Seems about right. And then I think the other thing I'm doing actually this weekend is I set up a bunch of sensors over at Paleo Treats that are all running through ChirpStack, and I'll show you how to put those onto the app. But that's been interesting to see. I mean, some of the devices, I'd be careful I don't throw manufacturers under the bus, but I'll tell you this, IoT is still not easy. So this is what I'm finding. Okay, cool. I think we're going to wrap this thing up here. It is now 10 o'clock in the morning on Pacific time. 15 minutes, cruise over to the Deep in State channel at Deep in State and watch the Abai show with the amazing clickbait title that Max and I worked really hard on. And yeah, would love to see you guys over there and jump into that with you. But thanks for coming on today, and always good to see you guys, Paul and Joey. I'll see you guys next week, or not you, Paul, but I'll see you next week, Joey. All right, guys.
That's great.
Have a good weekend. Nice to see you guys. Speak to you soon. Bye.